My name's Lon, and I'm owner of Maine Float, and I wanted to make a video today to discuss how to put away your table for the winter. First things first is I want to go over your battery system. It doesn't matter if you have a single battery versus a two battery system. Taking them off is pretty much the same. If you don't have a two battery system, you can ignore the first part in terms of disconnection, but we'll go over that. So basically, when you're ready to pull off your batteries, one thing you want to do, there's a few wing nuts underneath the bracket right here that supports each of your battery boxes. You'll undo each of those wing nuts. Try not to lose them. If you do, just email us and we can send you new ones, info@mainefloat.com. And really, when you have the wing nuts on there to secure the battery boxes to the bracket, the biggest thing is you just need one. It's okay if you have a couple missing, but as long as you've got one to just kind of anchor it to that bracket, that's sufficient. So after you've pulled those wing nuts off, I've kind of set this up in the way that these are usually seated under the table. You'll either have to crawl under the table or be in the water to do your disconnection. Make sure that your battery system is off. So remember, that's your power switch. We're going to turn that system off. And then the way these battery boxes are constructed is there's a little bit of a tab that catches. And so you kind of have to push it in a little bit. And that will release it so that you can pull the covers off. Under the table, it's fairly narrow, so you'll just be careful. But when you are disconnecting your two battery system, essentially you're going to be disconnecting the second battery first. So not your master switch battery, the other battery. Ideally, you don't have to take this top off at all. It's only on your spare battery or your sister battery here that you will need to do the disconnecting. And this is the easiest one to do that on. So once you've disconnected your motor and your solar panel, if applicable, and your USB, basically you're going to pop that cover off, and underneath you'll see the two terminals. These are a Phillips head screwdriver, and as long as you have something to basically either hold that while you unscrew your Phillips side there, you're going to pop these nuts off. They won't be this loose, I promise. This is strictly for demonstration purposes, but you'll basically pull these off. And so you'll notice that there's only one connection to the red, and then there's several to the black here. You've got your battery connection, your parallel line here, which is similar to this one that goes here, and also your charger and your motor line. So we'll disconnect these. Now we've freed up all the lines. So when you're undoing this under the table, you'll basically move all your lines out of the way and then proceed to basically lift this up off of the bracket and onto the bench. So that is one battery that is now off your table. Now this battery is all ready to just be lifted off of the bracket and also to be put away. So when you go to take these off of the table, you'll want to put them in a temperature-controlled building of some kind, whether a heated garage, basement, somewhere where they're not going to freeze, because that will definitely decrease the life of your battery pack. And so when you do, especially if you have a two battery system, or if you have a two battery system, you're going to want to set these, put these away in the same way that they were positioned on the table. And the reason being because these will slowly discharge over time, and you want to keep a charge. You really don't want them to totally become depleted because, again, you don't want your batteries to die off sooner. And this will just prolong the lifespan of the batteries. So when you have a two battery system, one of the things that you'll want to do is once you've positioned them where you're going to be storing them for the winter, is you will want to reconnect your batteries. So you have this battery line here. You'll just want to tighten them up a little bit. They don't need to be super tight. And then you'll take all of those black wire terminals, and there should be 4 in total. So you'll have the parallel line that connects to your other battery. I know this looks red, but it's actually red and black. Your motor line is either going to be red or red and black or black. And so if it's got black on it, it's going to be going to the black side. And then you've got your battery connection. It's labeled battery. And then you've got your battery charger connection. So you're going to put these back together. I know it's a lot on that small terminal. Now, like I said, every couple of months, you're going to want to plug your battery charger in. Remember, these are not waterproof. They're only water resistant. They should not be left outside for any significant period of time. And so you'll plug that in, and your battery charger connection, you'll plug that in. And now you are charging both of your batteries at the same time. So this is called a parallel system, and it keeps your voltage at 12 volts. If you were to run this in a different way with these lines crossing, you would actually be doubling the voltage, and that's not good for the motor. So as long as you remember to keep your parallel line to the red and to reconnect all of your black lines back to the black post, then you should be all set to maintain your batteries as needed through winter. I do want to mention one thing about your labeled lines here. Some, as you can see, some fade more than others. And so that says battery charger on it. These were supposed to be fade-proof labels, and unfortunately, they just have not lasted well. The ones that were covered are nice and bright and easily readable, but over time, these are going to fade. So I highly recommend that you figure out a way to best differentiate your cables. If you get lost and aren't sure which cable is which when it comes time for spring and making your connections back to your solar panel and your motor, please contact me. Again, I can walk you through it. One simple way to do it is the heaviest gauge wire is always going to be your motor, aside from, of course, your parallel connectors. But this is your motor line. And then there's basically 2 other lines. One is going to be your battery charger, and that's usually going to come off the other side of the box. I tried to do that intentionally so that would kind of sort your wire systems. But essentially, motor, solar panel, and USB will all be coming off of this side. This particular box does not have the USB cable, but it is smaller than the solar panel cable and feels a little bit more like plastic, whereas the solar panel cable feels siliconized or almost like rubber. So that's just some tips and tricks. If you happen to lose labels and you want replacements, again, I can send you new ones. But ultimately, what I would recommend doing, because I'm going to be moving away from the label system, is getting yourself either different colored tapes and marking both ends of your cables so you know which color connects to which. And another option would be to also spray paint or just mark them some way so that you know when spring comes which connection goes to which. Okay, so again, parallel system, that means it keeps the voltage at 12 volts. And the way this is rigged is specific to allow both batteries to charge up at the same time and deplete at the same time. And that's really important because you don't want different charges on your batteries when you're ready to go in the spring. So that's why if you have 2 batteries, you want to make sure you're reconnecting them. And then once or twice through winter, just go ahead, plug in that battery connection, and then you'll want to plug this into a regular outlet to charge. Don't leave this plugged in because, as you can see, your batteries are now powering the battery charger, but it's not charging your batteries, so it's going to kill your batteries. So once you're done charging, just disconnect. If you really want to maintain these the endpoints of your connections, I always recommend just putting the caps on there just to protect them. And if you need any of those, they're easily available online, but again, I can also mail you a couple extra if you need them. So that is the parallel battery system. If it's just a single battery system, again, all you're doing is just connecting your battery charger after you plugged in your charger, charging the battery, usually just overnight is fine, one time. So just to clarify, if you have a single battery system, the way you'll be taking your battery pack off is in the following order. Okay, first you'll just make sure everything is off. So put your power in the off position, and then you'll proceed with disconnecting all of your connections on the table. So like for instance, with your motor connection, you'll be disconnecting that, your solar panel, your USB. And when you do disconnect those, please don't pull on the wires, always pull on the connections themselves, all right? But once you've made those disconnections, you'll then unscrew that those swing nuts underneath your battery bracket mount on the table. And then that will allow you to pull the battery box off of the table. And then again, store it in a temperature controlled place through winter. Check on it once or twice. Plug your charger into the wall. Make the connection to your battery charging cable, and that will let you know how full your battery is. I do recommend charging it at least once during the winter to top off that battery pack. So that's with the single battery system. A little bit easier, but same rules apply. Okay, so aside from the batteries, the other two pieces that I recommend that are recommend be stored inside through winter are your umbrella, especially if there's a solar assembly attached to it, and your motor. You know, the better you take care of these items, the longer they're going to last. And as you can see, this motor has been sitting in pond water all summer long, has some buildup on it. I definitely recommend scrubbing that off as best you can, just so that you're clean and ready to go come spring. So in terms of removing the actual motor assembly itself, basically you'll see down here that there's a clamp that sits right on the frame of the table. You're basically, you know, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You're going to loosen these up. And if you're like, gosh, why can't I pull this off? Check to make sure that you have enough clearance between your propeller guard and the table. If it's too high up, you won't be able to lift it up off of the bracket. So just lower your motor a little bit so that you have enough clearance, and then you should be able to just pull the motor off just like so. And then you'll, again, just want to make sure you're storing it inside. You don't want any moisture or anything stuck in the motor and then freeze and damage your components, okay? The other piece is the umbrella. So, you know, obviously we've pulled the battery off. Next thing is to, once you've disconnected your solar panel connection, is to bring that up through the table, and then your umbrella has a button, which you can see right here, and I have a spider friend, but you're basically going to push that button and lift the whole thing off. And again, you just want to make sure that you're storing this inside for the winter. The rest of the table, there's a few recommendations that I have in terms of how best to winterize this. One thing would be to just build little triangles, put boards across, maybe 3 triangles, and then that way you can easily A-frame a tarp over the table to store it for winter, which is what we do here at the shop. And I will have another video about that later. Another option would be to put 2 posts, one on each side of the table, and then have a cross beam across connecting them. And then you can put the tarp over that and protect the table. You don't have to cover your table, but again, if you want to protect your investment and have good long riding times of many seasons ahead, I definitely recommend just going that extra step to make sure that you're really covering and protecting all of the table system. Okay, in terms of the other items on your table, I would just leave them. If you want to store your paddles away, that's fine, but you can totally leave the swim ladder on, your bumpers, your lines, your cleats, and even the USB has a cap on it. That's not on everybody's table, but if you have that, I would just leave it, and you should be good to go. So that concludes video on removing your battery systems and taking components off of your table that need to be properly stored through winter. If you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me through our website, mainefloat.com, or email me directly, info@mainefloat.com. Happy to talk to you anytime. If you need guidance, please reach out. Other than that, please have a safe, happy winter, and we all look forward to being back on our tables in the spring. Take care.